webinar. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to kick it off with Noel Buslon, Partner Recruitment Manager over at Acumatica. And he's going to be talking with a top partner for Acumatica. So I'll go ahead and let you get started. Thank you so much, Noel.
Great. Thanks, Adrian. Welcome everyone to the webinar today. Like Adrian said, we're going to be taking a look at the top product advantages and the peak at pricing, as well as interviewing Mike Guello from iTech Support. So these are the topics we'll be talking about today. First, we'll be doing a quick introduction of the speakers today. First, we'll have Michael Guello from iTech Support, a widely respected entrepreneur and CEO of iTech. Mike has been in the business for over 35 years, working in the mid-market to enterprise-level organizations. With Acumatica, he is a software sales and business consultant and adds a wealth of experience and business insight into organizations through his collective expertise, including ERP and consulting professional status. Later on in the webinar, we will have Jessica Gadbois. She's our partner enablement manager. She will be doing a brief product demo, and Kent Richeson on the partner enablement team, and he'll be talking about a little bit more about pricing with Acumatica and how we price. So perfect, Mike. Thanks for joining us on our webinar today. Can you give us a little bit of background of your company?
Sure. Thanks, Noel. Yeah, my name is Mike Guello, and I'm the CEO of iTech. iTech started as an IT managed services company in Florida in 1999. I became a principal investor in the company in 2001, but had not been involved with day-to-day activities until many years later. I was involved with other businesses during that time period, one of which was the Sage ERP software VAR.
Perfect. What brought you to Acumatica?
So I was looking for a new business venture in 2014 and stumbled upon Acumatica when seeing a post on LinkedIn by Don Yeager. I had known Don from a prior business relationship. After speaking with Don, I actually flew out to Washington. The original office of Acumatica was in Kirkland, and met with several members of the Acumatica management team. I was very impressed with their vision and partner-friendly business model, but I still needed to convince myself that starting an ERP VAR practice from scratch was something I wanted to do. About a year later, I decided to take the leap and start a new division of iTech focused exclusively on Acumatica.
Perfect. Since then, how have you seen Acumatica evolve?
So we started in the spring of 2015, shortly after version 5 was released. While the software offered many neat features like built-in CRM, a B2B customer portal, and very cool technology, it still had some functionality gaps when compared to some of the other legacy mid-market solutions. Of course, the rapid acceleration and the development of the new additions and version enhancement over the past few years has greatly enhanced the solution. Also, the additional ISV solutions have also bridged many gaps. So we've seen the product advance tremendously just over a short period of time.
Great. What is your favorite customer success story?
So there are quite a few. Thankfully, we really love our customers and have great relationships. But one of our early successes was from a small multi-company organization in Eastern Tennessee. The organization owns and manages companies in the amusement industry. We knew that we were competing against NetSuite, Intact, and Sage 100. From what we learned from the client after the process was complete, NetSuite kind of blew them off as being small and not a desirable fit. Intact's sales strategy apparently was to badmouth Acumatica, and so we found ourselves as the friendly player. This organization had 3 tenants, 3 login companies, and 11 operating entities, and a very small centralized accounting staff. They needed something easy to learn and scalable, but also robust enough to handle their advanced reporting requirements. They took a chance with the newcomer, Acumatica, as they believed that the technology was superior, the pricing was fair, and most importantly, and this is their words, not mine, that their small business would be appreciated by us and Acumatica.
Perfect. With the evolution of the platform and filling those gaps since 2015, our platform has a robust set of features. Today, how do you position Acumatica?
So, again, I may be different than most, but I guess I'm a old school accountant at heart, so I kind of sell the steak and not as much the sizzle. In my humble opinion, most business people want an ERP solution to solve their business problems in a tangible way. We spend a lot of time identifying the prospect's pain points and customize our demonstrations accordingly. Acumatica provides a great set of features and tools to help us solve our clients' business problems, and that's kind of our focus when we're in a demonstration or in a presentation.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the answer, and you kind of answered number 6 there, so we'll jump to number 7. Why should a prospective partner consider joining Acumatica?
So, again, our interest is, we started a few years ago and really started from scratch as a ERP solution provider. So we didn't really have any existing client base, which, I think most of you would agree that, that there's a lot of obstacles in the way. I mean, how do you even get your first sale if you don't have a reference? So what I would tell the prospective partners is that we were able to be successful because of the backing and the assistance from Acumatica, starting from scratch. And certainly anybody who's already starting in the business with a book of business and existing clients will have some less obstacles along the way. So again, I think just the fact of Acumatica having a partner-friendly business model, providing a lot of support, providing great demo data and demo scripts, providing a portal that has access to all of the information that you need to put together a proposal, and to then properly implement the software afterwards. Again, I think that, I guess let me say this as my final thoughts. Acumatica is doing a lot of things right. And I would say to everyone, let's keep it going. The more we all promote and sell Acumatica, the easier it will be for all of us as the brand gains broader recognition. And that's why I'm always willing to volunteer and be an advocate for Acumatica, because again, we got all our eggs in this basket, and we hope to continue to enjoy our successes with it in the future.
That's great to hear. Mike, again, thank you so much for joining us on the webinar today. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and we look forward to seeing you at Summit this year.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Next, we have Kent Richeson, and he will be going over how Acumatica prices.
Well, we're going to go a little bit more than just that. So hopefully Adrian and everybody, if somebody on the panelist team could let me know that you see my screen and we're ready to go, that would be great.
We do.
Yes, we can.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody. And we had a chance to look at the registration list in advance, and it was nice to see some existing Acumatica partners that have decided to join us today, and some prospective partners that we've been talking to with Noel and also some folks that I recognize from my time in the industry, having started as a Microsoft partner and been in the mid-market ERP space for more years than I care to admit. It's always great to shake hands and see folks that have grown up in the industry together. So welcome everybody. Thank you for your time. Hopefully this is going to be a good use of your time. I understand that I stand between you and a product demonstration, so we'll cover the information, but we'll move along fairly quickly. So today's agenda, corporate overview and our value proposition, kind of what separates and what makes Acumatica unique, or as lots of partners like to ask me, why Acumatica, Kent? Why should we do this in our practice? And then Jessica's going to do a great job on a product demonstration. So let's do a quick introduction to Acumatica. I'm going to build out this slide step by step, and I kind of go from the inside out. Acumatica likes to suggest that we were born in the cloud, and it's more than a suggestion. Every single line of code, every piece of functionality that we have was built, architected, and written to be delivered in the cloud. And that's really where the separation starts, okay? Yes, we made big bets on HTML5 and web services 10 years ago, and they were the standard. But really, if you read Gartner Group, Forrester, IDC, anybody, software as a service, accessing the functionality via the cloud is where all the publishers are going, all of our customers are going, and the fact that we started in the cloud, that means we don't have to go through this messy migration of deciding what functionality is going to make it from my legacy on-prem system into the cloud. That's a risk mitigation factor for your customers. If they want to go to the cloud, do they have to take a 1, 2, or 3-step process to get to a most current version and then go to a cloud version? And are they guaranteed that their ISV connections are going to work? Are they guaranteed that the functionality that they've grown up with is going to be available in the cloud? The short answer is no, they're not. So if you're looking to the cloud, and that's where everyone's looking, the fact that we were born in the cloud starts to separate Acumatica from some of the decisions that you're going to make. The next thing is, that we have ERP in our DNA. And what do we mean by that? Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Acumatica story, John Howell, one of the Acumatica founders, actually founded Solomon Software. And why that's important is John and the team of Acumatica founders know how to balance your books. They know what a general ledger looks like. They know what it means to manage inventory. They're interested and they're comfortable with purchase orders and sales orders. So John took that expertise, and when he sold his company, that was the seed money that started Acumatica. So truly, we do have ERP in our DNA. We're not a technology firm or a technology company trying to masquerade as somebody that understands the necessary business processes. The next thing we talk about here is current cloud disruption. I think we've all experienced this. We walk into one of our prospects, and one of the first questions we might ask them is, tell us about the applications you're currently running today. And more often than not, we have people that are telling us that they're running Salesforce, they're running DocuSign, they're running Concur for expenses. There's a lot of cloud applications out there that our prospects are running, and they have to plug them into their central nervous system or their ERP system. So there's a lot of positive disruption going on in the marketplace. This goes back to being born in the cloud. If you were architected to the cloud and you can connect to those cloud applications, you're one step ahead in the pursuit of your prospect from a conversation standpoint. The last thing, and I think Mike alluded to this just a few minutes ago, is for those that aren't aware, Acumatica is 100% dedicated to the channel. We do not have a direct sales organization. We have a professional services organization that complements and supports our partners, but we do not have a dedicated professional services organization that competes with you as a partner, and we don't have a dedicated or direct sales organization that competes with you as a partner. In fact, just this past week, we had a practice owners and executive forum in Dallas, Texas, where we had over 40 owners show up to talk about the strategic direction of the marketplace and how their practices can continue to evolve with Acumatica. And John Roskell, our CEO, announced to the assembled owners, we don't have a plan B. And I thought that was a very telling and compelling comment, that people ask him all the time, what happens if this channel thing doesn't work out? What's your plan B? John's simple answer is, we don't have a plan B, which is why we have the Acumatica enablement team, which is why we're committed to making sure our partners' Acumatica's practices are as successful as they want them to be. So born in the cloud, we know ERP, we can connect to that, we can connect and participate fully in the cloud disruption that's going on in the marketplace, and we're 100% partner oriented. Probably don't need to go much further than that, but I do have a few more slides to go through, so bear with me. Again, go through real quickly here. It's always nice that Acumatica and our partners sing our praises, but it's always nice to have independent voices and third-party organizations recognize what's going on with Acumatica. I do always draw people's eyes to the PC Magazine Editor's Choice quote, easy to follow navigation and unusual pricing model, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. We certainly don't think it's unusual at all. We think it's industry leading, and we think it benefits our partners and our customers greatly. For those of you that aren't aware, I mean, we do participate in a lot of analyst calls. We've got everyone from IDC to Gartner to Nucleus Research looking at us, and we've been very fortunate based on our technology, based on the people that are working on the product, since that's where we can spend the vast majority of our time. Gartner recognizes that we're doing very well. We're all anxiously awaiting Gartner's first ever mid-market cloud ERP Magic Quadrant, which was supposed to come out in August, and now they're thinking it'll come out in September. And we're got our fingers crossed that we're going to show very well in that new Magic Quadrant. But right now, for core financials, Acumatica is looking real good. Same thing with Nucleus Research. We continue as a leader. The usual suspects, but Acumatica has a strong presence in the marketplace from an analyst community standpoint. I put this slide up here real briefly because there's a lot of FUD in the marketplace. Who is Acumatica? They're a 10-year-old company. Where did they come from? What's going to happen to them? I think it's really important to note that our corporate headquarters, our CEO, our CFO, our global headquarters is in Seattle, Washington. And then we have offices throughout the world that allow us to follow the sun from a support standpoint and from an engineering standpoint. So the real purpose here is if you're a North American partner, our corporate headquarters and our executives are based in Seattle, and you have access to them should you so desire. Let's talk about the Acumatica differentiators. This kind of is the teaser on where we'll end up with Acumatica pricing. Access from anywhere on any device at any time. Now, is this a true differentiator for an Acumatica product? Yeah, a lot of people can make this claim. We're not wedded to any single browser. In fact, we challenge you, go ahead and bring us a browser, and we'll make sure that we can work with it. Where we really start to separate ourselves here is the dynamic sizing of the application. So when you come in the morning and you're sitting at your desktop and you're doing your Acumatica work, your user interface, your navigation is appropriate for your desktop. When you pick up your tablet and go to a lunch meeting, or you finish up your day, like many of us do on your mobile device, the technology carries forward, the functionality carries forward, and that dynamic sizing of the user interface makes for a much more elegant and user-friendly experience. So as your Acumatica business follows you, it's not something you have to struggle with day in and day out. We talked a little bit about this, previously on the cloud disruption slide, but for those that aren't familiar with Acumatica, you need to think of this kind of as a, kind of a two-tiered organization. We have this very exciting and powerful platform called the Acumatica XRP platform, which is what we use to build all of our functionality on top of. So anything from our general ledger to our inventory modules to even many third-party products that use our platform to build their functionality and their applications. But then we also allow that platform to build very powerful open API infrastructure, so that if you need to plug into Salesforce or you need to plug into Amazon Alexa of all things, I encourage everybody, go out there and do a quick YouTube search on some of the Amazon Alexa connectivity. It's really pretty cool, where John Roskell and some folks will actually check inventory status of your Acumatica laptops just by speaking to Alexa. And based on different voice intonations, the security is there as well. We've also got a great demo out there on how we have a bi-directional real-time integration with Salesforce. So when you need to talk to your prospects and connect to their cloud applications, Acumatica is right there with you. A flexible deployment model. Now, I think this is really important. We recognize that there are going to be customers that, for whatever reason, want to deploy the application on-premise. If they want to do that, we allow for that option. And we can price a perpetual license that they buy once and they pay maintenance on. We also allow them, on the licensed in data center column there, that they can host it in the data center or the cloud of their choice. So cloud portability is the buzzword in the market. Can you put it in Google? Yes, we can. Can you put it in Azure? Yes, you can. Can you put it in a local managed services provider? Yes, you can. And why is this important to a partner? Well, think about it this way. Let's say you walk into a prospect and you say, I'd like to introduce you to Acumatica, and the prospect says, I wish you to talk to me 2 months ago, we just signed up a new 36-month agreement to run our on-premise application in this local managed services provider. If you don't have this deployment flexibility, then you have to walk away from that deal. But what you can do as a partner is you can suggest to your prospect, well, we can run Acumatica in your private or your local managed services provider for the next 34 months. So you can leverage the investment that you've made. And then if and when you decide to move it into a public cloud solution, which is the Amazon Web Services option we deploy, then we can do that at that time. So I'm not going to say it's as simple as an edit, copy, paste, but it is a very, very easy transfer to go from a private cloud into the public cloud. Now, as I mentioned previously, the Acumatica cloud exists on Amazon Web Services infrastructure. And in the second quarter of this year, 94% of our net new customers chose the software as a service Amazon public cloud option. And I think it's important to know that that's the Acumatica cloud. It's run by Acumatica engineers. It's run by Acumatica folks. So your guy that delivers, your boxes from an Amazon perspective or works on the assembly line isn't the one managing your Acumatica applications on your behalf. So why would they go to software as a service? Why would they go to the public cloud? All the things that we know and love, everything from disaster recovery, geo-redundancy, security, compliance, SOC 1, SOC 2, PCI, all the reasons that you go into the public cloud. So drum roll, please. Let's talk about the Acumatica pricing level, okay? So when we talk about Acumatica pricing, I think the first thing I want to talk about is recognize that there are two components when it comes to Acumatica pricing. The first component is going to be based on your discovery with your prospect. What necessary functionality or what modules does your prospect need? Do they need core financials? Do they need CRM? Do they need advanced distribution? What functionality do they need to run their business? But then we have what we call modern consumption-based licensing, in the fact that we don't have user-based licensing. We don't put your prospect in that decision where we say to them, how many people do you have in your accounting department? Well, I've got 10. How many people would you like to have on the system? Well, ideally, I'd like to have everybody, but I know it's going to cost me a lot, so I can only pick 5. Same thing on the shop floor or in the warehouse. Well, Acumatica fundamentally believes that if you include all of your employees, not just a few, that your organization is going to be better off. So now everybody's shaking their head, those that aren't Acumatica partners and haven't heard this spiel before. If we are going to remove these bottlenecks and improve results and allow Acumatica to extend out to external customers and partners, and there's going to be this unlimited user licensing capability, what am I paying for, Ken? Well, really what you're paying for is, as I said before, the necessary functionality from a module standpoint, but then what you're paying for, Mr. Customer, is the necessary infrastructure to power your organization. So I've heard people describe it as a utility company, such as an electric company, where if you're a small company and your processing requirements from a database standpoint, from a memory standpoint, from a CPU standpoint are very limited, then you're going to consume fewer resources, so you're going to pay less, regardless of how many users you have, okay? And then we have some sizing discussions and questions with our customers. It's like, when you go to a tailor, you're going to sit down with your prospect and you're going to take some key measurements, and we're going to go back and bounce that against the 10 plus years we have people running in the Amazon Web Services Cloud. And we're going to say, based on this size of a prospect, on how many products they have, how many transactions they process, everything that they need, we'll put together a consumption-based component of their pricing. And we believe this is a true separator for Acumatica. And a lot of our customers and a lot of our partners, the message of having everybody in your organization benefit from utilizing the system is a very powerful message, and it's unique in the industry at the moment, although I don't think we're going to be unique in the industry forever. So people are going to catch on to this, and I imagine other folks are going to start doing it as well. So just to finish up real quick, I do show this slide from an Acumatica global customer standpoint. Not so much because you guys need to know who Visma is or MYOB or Lexware, but the reason I show this slide is that these are multi multi-billion-dollar organizations with hundreds of thousands of customers that dominate the markets from an application and accounting software and distribution software standpoint. And these companies could have chosen any technology to move their products to the cloud. And they conducted a global search, and they could have picked any platform and any technology. And these really large entities chose the Acumatica platform and the Acumatica technology to move their applications to the cloud. I don't need to see that Skype message. I know Mike mentioned this a little earlier that, you know, as the Acumatica ecosystem continues to evolve, I purposefully put this eye chart of a slide up there. There's no way getting around it. Acumatica is the popular kid at the party right now. There's a whole bunch of ISVs that are anxious to join and plug into the Acumatica platform. And Christian Lindberg and Sergey and our ISV team are just swamped as we get people continually running to the Acumatica saying, can we work with you? Can we plug into you? Can you connect to us? We'd really like to jump onto the Acumatica bandwagon across a broad spectrum of siloed functionality requirements that our industry has, be it BI Solver. I know Christian and Sergey were at Solver World this week. You know, it goes across a broad spectrum of ISVs. A lot of customers that you know, we've got this, and I encourage you, if you're an active partner or you're thinking about coming on board, get in touch with Sean Chatterjee and our partner account management team to dig into how these customers are benefiting from Acumatica. Got some great case stories out there. And as we get ready to wrap this up and transition over to Jessica from a demo standpoint, as I mentioned before, the Acumatica core products include financial management, project accounting, inventory management, and customer relationship management. And then the platform that we have has been used to build out specific vertical additions, be it field service, enhanced distribution, construction. And when you build out those additions or that necessary functionality that your prospect has to have, you get advanced functionality beyond the core product. So here's the distribution edition that gives you advanced financials and advanced fulfillment. Here's the manufacturing edition. It was actually built on the Acumatica platform. The commerce edition. And I know we're recording this and you'll get a chance to have access to these slides, so I'm not going to read each and every bullet. The Acumatica Field Service Edition. And I usually close with the Construction Edition. The reason I close with the Construction Edition is it is our newest edition. And if it's something that you're interested in as a partner, you will have to apply to be authorized to sell the Acumatica Construction Edition. It's such a unique market. There's some experience and some certification requirements to really function and be successful in the construction market. So if it's something you're interested in, please identify that to Noel or Noel, and we'll make sure you get in front of the right construction folks, so you will have to apply and be authorized to sell that. So thank you for your time today. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. If you've got any questions, for those of you that know me, it's at kent.richeson@acumatica.com, or work through Noel and Noel, and I'm sure we'll answer all your questions. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jessica, and she'll be walking you through the Acumatica product. Take it away, Jessica.
Thank you very, very much, Kent. I appreciate that introduction, and I think that was a really great overview of, without getting too far into the details, really from a high level of who Acumatica is in the market, where we're coming from and where we're going. So I appreciate that overview. Now, my focus today is going to be to continue to take you down that same path. So I know, or if you know even just a little bit about ERP, you know that there is a lot of functionality here. You know that every company and every partner is interested in different features. So my focus today is going to be around how any modern business can use these really common features to operate more efficiently. So I won't be focusing on, these specific additions that Kent mentioned. I'm not going to take you into a distribution demo or a manufacturing demo. I would, of course, be happy to do that in a separate one-on-one session. Again, you can follow up with our team if you're interested in setting up that type of meeting. But I will be focusing on common advantages, so more on the overview side today than on the detail side. So to get us started, I'm going to give us an overview of the system. We'll talk about navigating through Acumatica, and then I'll break into some of those common features like universal search. We'll talk about dashboards like you're seeing here. We'll talk about reporting, a little bit about querying, as well as some of the process automation that you will see throughout the system. So that's where I'm headed in my demonstration today. And the first thing that I'm going to do, like I said, is just take us through a bit on the navigation side. So just waking up my system there to refresh it. And if you have not seen Acumatica before, nice clean interface. Over on the left-hand side, you're going to see each one of your business process areas broken out by what we refer to as workspaces. So both from a navigation standpoint, if I'm somebody that processes sales orders, I know that mainly everything that I'll be looking for is going to be located in that sales order workspace. So nice from a navigation standpoint, but again, just on the efficiency side, helping people to navigate to the different areas of the system and also be able to personalize these pages and what they're seeing here. So something simple like maybe I use new sales orders very often. I can grab that star icon here, and then I can start to build up a list of my favorites in this favorites workspace on the top left. So now you notice I just have one block in there for my favorites. Now, beyond actually using the workspaces for navigation, it's going to be based on role. So you might not give everybody access to each and every workspace. For example, if I'm somebody from the accounts payable organization, I might only have access to the payables workspace and perhaps the finance workspace. Maybe I shouldn't be touching sales orders or inventory. So you can start to use Acumatica roles and permissions to provide security across the organization. If you don't want sales representatives touching financial statements, again, you can get very granular, even down to the field level with how you provide access to the system. I will also mention before we talk a little bit about dashboards that the workspaces themselves can be configured. So when I'm within a workspace here, you might notice at the top that I have a quick menu versus if I click on that, it's going to toggle over to actually all of the items that are available from the accounts receivable workspace. I can determine what goes on my quick menu by simply selecting this gear icon over on the right-hand side. And all I have to do is check the boxes for what I would like to appear on my quick menu. So if I, in fact, don't use my AR past due report or my AR aged period sensitive report, maybe these top two reports are the only AR ones that are interesting to me, I can go ahead, select those boxes, exit out of there, and now when I return back to this quick menu, those are the only two reports that I'm going to see there. So just from a usability standpoint, I am not a developer by any means, so anything you see me doing in the system today does not require development experience. It does not require, calling up somebody and paying them additional service hours to make these types of changes. We're really focusing on that company-wide usability if you want to be able to provide those types of permissions to your users. The next thing I'm going to bring up is just this universal search, because one more time, this is a feature that all of our clients and our internal users, we run Acumatica internally at Acumatica. So I'm using this universal search both in the Acumatica organization itself every day, as well as during my demonstrations like you'll be seeing me do today. So just to highlight how this works, and we'll stick with that topic of sales orders. If I'm to go ahead and type in the word sales order, I'm going to see every area in the system that I might be looking to navigate to. So if I'm looking to process an actual sales order transaction itself, it's going to break it out by each one of the workspaces and then the category within that workspace. So if it's an actual transaction versus maybe I'm looking for a sales order report, I can also start to generate that information from the universal search. This makes it easy to not have to memorize each and every area in the system. Oh no, I don't remember how to actually navigate to create a new purchase order. Let me just type it in. So nice for new users. The universal search is also going to give you access to a knowledge base. So maybe I'm not actually looking to process a new sales order, but I'm looking for help on how to allocate items during the sales order process. I can go in, type in a few keywords, navigate to my help articles in the knowledge base, and now I immediately have access to these very well done wiki articles about how to utilize that feature. Another side note, any page that you are on in Acumatica, if you just click the question mark icon in the top right, it will also bring up the associated help articles for whatever page you are currently on. From the files perspective, we do support document management. So we get a lot of questions about, can we upload documents to the system, maintain our documents, maybe copies of purchase orders, contracts, etc. And the answer is yes, absolutely. You can upload those documents against the appropriate forms, and then they become searchable in the universal search here. And just the last one is going to be transactions and profiles. Let's see if I got yeah, it's going to want an invoice number. So what you can do here, I don't know a specific invoice number off the top of my head to search for, but you will see the visual here, is that maybe I have somebody calling up my sales team and they want to know about the status of a particular invoice on that day. So you can just type in that invoice number and it will pull back the associated transaction that you're looking for. Or maybe you're looking for a customer's address or profile. You can use the universal search to access those profiles within Acumatica as well. So extremely valuable for all users. Again, I'm using that feature all day, every day, both in my demo environment and in our internal instance of Acumatica. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to talk about dashboards for a few minutes here. I would say that about 85% of our customers are using these dashboards as a means to really take a real-time view of the business dependent on your role within the organization. So you can personalize these dashboards, again, by role to display the key performance indicators, the charts, the graphs that are important to the person in that position. So I'm starting with a controller's dashboard here. So just notice how focused it is on the financial aspects of the business. If I'm a controller, I can have this page as my home base, and I can see immediately in real time, well, I have 34 overdue customers. I have one customer that's on credit hold, and 4 of these customers are 90 days overdue. So they really need our attention. I'm getting all of this information, but then the purpose here is now I can actually take action on this and start to make some decisions to help my business continue moving along. So I see who those 34, or I see that I do have 34 overdue customers, but now I can actually drill into those details, get a full list of who those customers are, see what their balances are, what buckets they fall into as far as aging. So the possibilities as far as dashboard design are very, very robust. And again, it does not take a developer to start to make these changes. What I mean by that is we use a lot of the browser-based functionality that you would really come to know and expect. So if I do something like design this dashboard, again, if I have the permission to design a dashboard, you do not need to give that permission to everybody. But perhaps, down in the bottom right here, we'll use this widget as an example. Maybe my overdue payments is not as important to me, the specific payments. I'm just more concerned about customers. So I can drop that widget off of my dashboard with just one click. I can begin to, just drag and drop these if I'd like to move them around or resize anything that I'm seeing on my screen. That's also a possibility. So really up to you as far as if you would like to make changes to the dashboard as a security admin or a system administrator, or if you would like to keep those changes down to the user level. You will also see the different types of dashboard widgets that we support. These ones, of course, being graphs. We do also have the ability to add things like Power BI tiles. So free business intelligence application from Microsoft. You can actually build, your fancy charts and graphs there in Power BI and pull them into an Acumatica dashboard if you'd like. Data tables, which are really just listings of information. So if I wanted to actually see all of those overdue payments in a list format out on my screen, those are just a few examples of some of the things that you can start to do with a dashboard. The very last example I will show of a dashboard, and when I go into my dashboards workspace, you'll see all of the different dashboards that I have available. We'll flip over to a purchasing manager just to give you a quick contrast and just take a look at now what is appearing on my dashboard. Well, instead of seeing that financially focused information as a purchasing manager, I'm seeing my low and high inventory turnover items. I'm seeing purchase orders that I need to approve, purchase suggestions. So based on my reorder points and demand history, what do I actually need to go out and buy? So just keep that in mind. It's very much going to be focused on your role within the company, how you view that data. And of course, you can color code this information. I didn't mention that yet. But if I want to put things in bright red that are a problem for my business, anytime we have maybe over 2 late receipts, that should be flagged in red, versus if it's less than 2, it can just appear in green. So you can also make those types of decisions if you would like to. Now, sticking on this topic here, we're talking about analytics, right? We're looking at a dashboard, we're looking at KPIs, we're looking at some really nice data as far as graphs and charts. And then the next question often becomes, how can I view my data in a report format now? We get in almost every single one of our opportunities, prospects that are struggling with reporting in their current system. So I will give you a few minutes, or at least a taste of Acumatica reporting. One thing I want you all to note is that in each workspace that you're in, you will find associated reports there. So because I'm in the finance workspace, I see all of my financial statements. If I were to go over to sales orders, I'm going to see a number of sales order reports. Same thing as you go on through purchases workspace. I see all of my purchase order details, purchase history, etc. So that's one way, again, just to help you navigate a little bit easier or to see what's available. You can always check that existing workspace to see if there are any reports that might meet your needs. Now, I usually will pull a balance sheet just to get us started here, because the balance sheet is obviously a very common financial statement. So you can, one side item, I can collapse those workspaces out at any time just to give me some more real estate here. But what we're looking at now is a real-time balance sheet. You do have the flexibility within Acumatica to run your reports based on specific date ranges or periods. This one happens to be set up to be showing me the current period that we're in. So I get this, again, nice clean report, but the goal here is to be allowed to drill down into the details behind this report. So yes, we're getting these grand totals and this information in real time, but I need to actually see, well, what accounts were affected in the total assets on my balance sheet. So now I have drilled down to the next level behind that. Here's every single account that was rolling up into my total assets. And again, I can continue drilling down into these details to actually see the batch numbers that were affecting that grand total that I was seeing. So I do always say, if God forbid one of your clients or you yourselves ever gets audited, they're going to want to see that level of detail, from the journal transaction back up to the account and back up to the report. So if you notice, even just being able to open those different details in different tabs and getting right back to the original report is something that makes it nice and easy from a usability standpoint again. Now, with these reports, you see we have these icons at the top here. So of course you can print these out. You can certainly send them via email. We do have an email system built into Acumatica, and we also connect with Outlook. We do have an integration and a plug-in to Outlook. And then you can export these reports as well. So something like to PDF, if you wanted to send a PDF version of an invoice perhaps to a customer, we do support PDFs throughout, as well as exporting to Excel. So we know many people are just more comfortable doing their reporting in Excel, and we don't want to take that away from anybody. So we allow you to have that permission as well. The final thing I'll mention here is just around this little icon for grouping. What this is showing me is that I can break out my reports in a number of different ways. So this report in this demo environment is set up with 2 different companies, a product and a services company, as well as 4 different branches. So I can actually navigate to a balance sheet for just one of my branches versus a consolidated report for that company versus a consolidated report for all of the companies and branches within my instance of Acumatica. And that's just one way to slice this data. You can get very, very granular with how you do this. We do have 2 report designers. One is very similar to FRX for those that are familiar. One is very similar to Crystal Reports. So if you have some background there, then it will be nice and easy for you to pick up how to actually create Acumatica reports as well. Now, right along the lines of reporting, we will see many instances where our customers want to build generic inquiries as well. So the databases that we use within Acumatica are Microsoft databases. So this allows us to develop some queries, SQL queries specifically. So I'm just going to bring up an existing query that I have here. And what it's calling and what the system is asking for here is invoiced items. Now I've defined the conditions or the tables that I want to go into that query. So we're starting to get a little bit more complex here. But I highlight this again because I am not a developer, and these types of inquiries can be built very easily by someone that doesn't necessarily have development experience. So all this inquiry is saying is take every single AR invoice. So all of my tables, or excuse me, the table that contains my AR invoices, my AR transactions, my customers on those receivables transactions, include their addresses, include their accounts, and also include the inventory items that were sold on those invoices. So it looks a little bit complex, but that's really all we're asking for there. I didn't apply any additional conditions or parameters. You could, if you wanted to, go a little bit deeper and start to actually apply conditions from those tables. But let's just view this inquiry as is. And now I'm seeing just that. Notice it's not in a report format anymore, but it's actually built into a query screen where I'm seeing exactly what I've asked for. I'm seeing every customer account that we have invoiced over time. I'm seeing the addresses that we invoiced them in, the financial periods, what the inventory items are. So it's giving me a ton of information here, and now I can take this even further. I might want to not only see all of these invoiced items, but maybe I only care about the items we sold in a particular state. So I can just create a new filter here, show me only the things I've sold in New York. And now in just a few seconds, again, from someone that is not a developer, we created a generic inquiry, or we pulled up an existing inquiry, and we've just applied a new filter for it. So I'm only seeing the items that we've sold in the state of New York. And you can continue to do this. Maybe I not only want to see for a particular state, but only for a particular financial period or for a particular customer. So you can even drag and drop these to create new filters. Maybe I only want to see a particular customer in there. So you can do the exact same thing with dragging and dropping your filters as well. Looks like I don't have any invoiced items for that particular customer. Okay. So there's a little bit about generic inquiries. The reason I want to bring this up, as I mentioned, is not only do every single one of our customers use this inquiry function, but they also are really starting to take on the use of these pivot tables, which are attached to generic inquiries as well. So we talked a little bit about Excel reporting. If you do reporting at all in Excel today, you're probably familiar with these pivot tables. And this is, again, just a nice visual way to get a different view of your data. So it's the exact same tables. It's the exact same query for invoiced items. But now I'm just seeing it with my financial periods across the top, my inventory items as my columns, or excuse me, on my rows on the left-hand side. So if I want to view that inquiry in a different way at all, I can also build pivot tables to define the rows and columns and get those properties in more of a visual format. Now, I'm coming up on time I have allotted for this presentation today. I want to make sure that we leave a few minutes for questions here. So really the last thing that I'm going to do is make one comment, and it's about process automation. We get a lot of questions about how can I automate a process within Acumatica, and how can I do things in batches or in bulk and perhaps put them on a schedule. So throughout the entire system, in every single workspace and in every single module, you will find what we call processes screens. And I'm under the receivables workspace again, but everything you're seeing here means that you can take this action in a batch or in bulk, and you can also put it on an automation schedule. So I'll use the example of printing customer statements. If I wanted to, not print a customer statement one at a time, I didn't want to do it in a one-off format, I can just come to this screen, I can pick the statement cycle, I can see all of the customers that are pending for a statement to be printed this month. I could select all of them, I could select just the ones that I want to print a statement for at that time, or I can put this on a schedule to be done automatically behind the scenes. So if I want to print my statements every month on a particular day, on the first of the month or on the last day of the month, I can define this schedule, and then that process will run for me without me even having to trigger anything in the system. So a lot of opportunity here for you to start to get into a position where your clients or your businesses are operating in real time, everything from your general ledger, journal transactions, through your AP, your AR, over to your inventory, pulling in distribution, manufacturing, field services, and really just starting to build on those puzzle pieces dependent on your business. Now, like I said, we could talk about Acumatica for hours. I was only given about 20 minutes to go through what I thought were really universal features for any client that begins to use Acumatica. So I hope you found this useful, at least to give you a taste of what is there. Like I said, I would be more than happy to jump on a one-on-one meeting, learn a little bit more about what it is you're interested in seeing within the Acumatica software, and then we can customize a demo that's a bit more specific to what your requirements are. With that being said, Adrian, I'm going to pause right there and I'm going to pass it back to you. We'll see if any questions have come in that Kent, myself, or anyone on the line can help with.
Thank you, Jessica. Great presentation, everybody. I just handed the presentation controls back to Noel, and Noel's going to talk a little bit about the R2 launch and closing here, and then we'll announce questions. Just as I said in the beginning, if you note on your webinar pane, there's a question mark button right next to your name. If you click on that question mark button, a dialog box will open up where you can go ahead and key in your question, and we'll announce those questions shortly here. So Noel, can you talk a little bit about the R2 launch coming up?
Sure, thanks, Adrian. So Acumatica is hitting the road again this fall. We are releasing Acumatica R2 2018, and we are starting in Boston on September 12th. About that. This is a really great event. It's a one-day event. You'll have access to key Acumatica executives. Many of our team will be there. Our partner account managers will be going through a functional demo of R2 as well as the construction edition demo. These are really great events to see your peers in the Acumatica ecosystem as well as our ISV partners.
And I'm
so
gonna
any questions?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, now if there's any questions, and this is Noel and I, our contact information. So if you do want to learn a little bit more about our channel program, or you do want to get a deeper dive demo with Jessica, feel free to reach out to Noel and I. Will be glad to coordinate those for you.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. If we can have the audience answer this poll, that would be awesome. And I'll announce some of these questions here. There are a lot around the pricing. So Kent, there are specific questions geared toward pricing. Did you want to take those offline and answer them in a phone call?
Yeah, I think the best thing, Adrian, is if they've got specific pricing and we're not going to go in an open forum, into our partner portal and pull up the pricing estimator and start to go through it at that level of granularity. But under NDA with somebody, we can certainly share much greater information and detail. So I'm certainly open to that.
Perfect. Yeah, they're specifically asking about the 10 user bundle with the consumption-based unlimited user pricing, and just the logic behind that 10 user bundled pricing. Would you feel comfortable taking that offline, or did you want to go ahead and answer that?
No, I think the answer there is there's always going to be an exception. There's going to be very, very small companies that have huge resource consumption requirements, and we have to be sensitive to that. So our sensitivity to that wraps itself around limiting the number of users and then pricing the infrastructure. So again, that's an exception-based approach. Our standard approach, and the one that most prospects are gravitating towards and most partners are benefiting from, are those tried and true mid-market manufacturing distribution companies that have forever and a day had to choose that Sophie's choice based on user price, where the consumption-based model and having all of their employees on the system is not only fair, but significantly beneficial to their organization.
And we have a question for Mike. Mike, if you could answer this question, what industry or industries do you feel Acumatica is best served?
Great question. So the bulk of our clients are wholesale distributors, importer distributors. It works really well in that environment. We have a field service company. We have two manufacturing company implementations, and then we have a few organizations that just use it for general accounting. Most of them are not small single user type or single company type entities. The people who are looking at it for an accounting solution usually have more complex business organizational structure or business operations. But Acumatica has won awards for their as a supply chain software, and more recently in the manufacturing. So any company that manages inventory, manufacturing, order processing, it really plays very well in that environment.
And do you see customers coming from a particular product, like maybe say Sage 100, or is it multiple products across the board that they migrate to Acumatica from?
So I think, like a lot of the mid-market packages, right, the Sage 50 and the QuickBooks is kind of a feeder ground, right, where companies are outgrowing those products. So we have had several clients that have migrated from one of those. We've also seen folks that have had Sage 100 or I think SysPro is another one. So we've kind of seen them around, but again, I would say the majority probably have been coming from either a Sage 50 or a QuickBooks type program where they've outgrown those products.
And how long does it typically take to get a customer converted and up and running on Acumatica?
We typically tell, we haven't had any, enterprise-sized, really huge clients. Our largest client, I think, had about 50 or 60 users, still multiple locations. We typically tell our clients a 3 to 4 month window, and that's more, we could probably do it quicker, actually, but that's more because the client doesn't have the bandwidth to dedicate the time they need to participate. So we typically use 3 to 4 months as a window.
And do you find that you have to go on site to do the bulk of the implementation, or can you do a lot of it remote?
So I have a couple clients I've never met, and I'm not proud of saying that, but they're they're geographically pretty far away, and they were very comfortable with the demonstration, presentation, and full implementation done remote. So it can absolutely be done remote. It really just depends on the client, what the client wants. Even with the clients that are geographically close to us, oftentimes they request their training to be done via webinars or WebEx, so they could space it out and don't have to block out 8 hours a day. So the majority of the work that we do is remote, but we typically will go on site for the go live and sometimes for the conference room pilot.
And we do have some additional pricing questions, so we'll take those offline, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any other questions. I do see that 50% of the audience that's still on the line has voted. So if we could just get a couple more to vote here, or all of you would be amazing. And I'm just going to leave that up there for a couple more seconds. And we have a minute to spare, guys. Good job.
Look at that.
Well, thanks everybody for this opportunity today, and I look forward to the questions, be it on pricing or anything else around Acumatica, Adrian.
Perfect. And that will be on the webinar registration report. Those of you who did ask those questions, Kent will be able to easily see that they apply to him, so he'll give you a personal follow-up. And I will close this out and flash the contact information up one more time. And we are at the hour. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Thank you again for spending your time with us today. We hope you found it useful. Everybody take care.